we spend a lot of time talking about downplayed Nintendo games on this channel, right? We live in an industry where people will completely seriously try to convince you that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom selling 20 million copies makes it a bomb, right? That nobody plays Super Mario Bros. Wonder. That Pokemon, the biggest media franchise in the world, is falling off. And in between all of this insanity, it's really easy to forget about the hidden gems that get successfully written off, right? That nobody talks about, nobody plays, nobody really cares for, but are still legitimately great games. And I think in the first half of the decade, right, the 2020s, I don't think there is a better example than Bayonetta 3 and Cereza and the Lost Demon, right? If anyone brings up Bayonetta 3 at all, it's always just some Devil May Cry fanboy who wants to try and convince you that, like, Bayonetta was a lesbian and then they retconned it. like, just delusional Reddit Yuri shit posting, right? It was just like, it was absurd, it was ridiculous, right? I have gone to great lengths, addressing all of the complaints from all of these like supposed action game YouTubers in regards to Bayonetta 3 about how much better it is than Devil May Cry 5, how good the game is in general, how it totally nailed the story, like how I am very satisfied with it, right? In a lot of ways, like Bayonetta 3 is the Bayonetta sequel that I wanted to get to begin with, right? It was shockingly good, considering the problems that have been going on at Platinum and Hideki Kamiya leaving the company and like that idiot Inaba's push for like live service gameplay. Like Bayonetta 3 might be the last really good game we ever get out of Platinum, right? But what's more than that, what is really interesting is that it had a sister game, a little sister, Bayonetta, Cereza, and the Lost Demon. A game that was like hyped up in Bayonetta 3 that got like, quite a bit of that was shown off at like some award show. I saw people, who are angry at Bayonetta 3 try to boo the game and cause controversy about the game. And it came and went because it was a weird, oddball game. It was something that was produced because the creators wanted to make it, right? This was never going to be reach a wide audience. It was like specifically targeted towards the indie scene. It was something unique and different made by devs who have a lot of passion for the universe they created. And to that end, like this game is art, right? Like I found myself like really surprised when I went back to Bayonetta Origins this past weekend, just how much I loved the game. Right, the general gameplay, of course, is tight. Like the visuals are good, right? The animations, the story. Like I talked about all of that before, but like going back and revisiting it, like you really get this sense that like this game was very, very slept on by the community, right? Because this is a really good lower budget game. This game does have a lot of unique aspects to the Bayonetta lore, right? This game should have reached a new audience and like really found its footing as like this the most Clover-esque game that Platinum has ever produced, right? This is something that reminded me of Okami and like stuff like that, of just being like, this very charming adventure about a little girl on this supernatural like adventure, right? Very Alice in tone, right? It has that kind of appeal. There's even like an Alice costume in the game. It is a game that was far better than I think anybody really gives it credit for, right? To this day, I don't really see anybody like really address this at all, even when they're like trying to like denounce Bayonetta 3. Cereza and the Lost Demon is an example of, I think, of just how versatile and like creative the Platinum team can be, right? They took their action game IP, the greatest in the industry, and made some cute like adventure game out of it. Right, it's kind of like Princess Peach Showtime, but with Cereza, right? It predated Princess Peach by a couple of years, but it's the same general idea, right? The the little girl going on the adventure, right? Like it is Cereza herself is useless in this game because she hasn't been trained in the Umbran arts yet. But again, she still has to go up against like a lot of the same kind of enemies, right? She still has to get into these fights, right? She still has to do her thing. And they do such a great job, like having all these unique environments and like the bright colors and like the great voice acting. And it's just like, lots of great collectibles. Like, you can get a lot of mileage out of this game. And I really wonder, like, looking back on it, like, is anyone going to remember this game at all? Considering like how Bayonetta 3 was received and like how this game was like written off before it even came out, like did anybody talk about this game? Did anybody besides me like play it at all? Does anybody like acknowledge that this game like really deserves a lot of props for like being a game for gamers? Like it's one of those situations, right? Like it's a lot like with 13 Sentinels and like other legit like great inventive like games that have come out recently is that like the industry just completely ignores them. There's no appreciation for them. There's no attention given to them. There's no appreciation for them. They just get written off and ignored in the most embarrassing way possible, right? Hoping that they'll brush them under the rug and nobody will ever bring them up again, right? And with Famicom Detective Club, I think that was a game that received similar treatment, where it was a stunning remake, right? It brought back an old Nintendo IP, right? Fans would have been really interested in seeing this come back, but no, we're just going to ignore it. We're just not going to talk about it at all. And then when they produce a new game, we're going to pretend that it's disappointing and that the game's bombed. It's same deal with like Cereza and the Lost Demon, right? Same deal with Bayonetta 3. Like these are games that absolutely should have gotten more props than they got from the community. But all I could hear from the fanboys were all these wild claims about how like the Switch hardware is holding this back when like Bayonetta 2 looks better than it does, right? Like again, Bayonetta 3's development problems have nothing to do with the hardware, right? This is pretty apparent if you look at like other Switch games, right? Everyone was doing everything they possibly can to try and find some way to like downplay Bayonetta 3, to ignore Cereza and the Lost Demon, and they ended up completely ignoring some of the best games that have come out in recent years, right? This is why gamers do not deserve good games in the video game industry.